Now, by the time you're my age, your mom may have ridden over 1 million cocks, all kinds.
Now's my chance to transfer shiz from my balls to his pussy.
48 minutes of dogs barking. 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 Growl. Growl. 48 minutes of dogs barking. 48 minutes of dogs barking.
I'm going trans. No.
He's transing up.
What if instead of the portrait of Dorian Gray, it was the portrait of Damn Gay? How's that?
That's pretty good. I like it.
Portrait
of Dad, I'm gay. Yeah. In the attic, there's a portrait that's just getting straighter and straighter.
Or I'm not sure if it gets straighter or gayer. All of a sudden, like it's like the portrait's wearing like a leather harness and has like a chevron mustache, wearing leather chaps, in a bathtub surrounded by men jacking off. I had a thought the other day. I think it was particularly in grade school, or like the one kid that like found like his dad's porno. Like a little bit earlier than other people would start telling you weird, wildly inaccurate things about sex based off of. Yeah.
I know several of those people.
Yeah. So I have thought, in this day and age, with the internet and, the age of innocence for children always seems to be a little bit more condensed than it was for the previous generation. I imagine like if you're like a school teacher is having to work like, cafeteria, recess and all that.
Yeah.
You're not really like hearing that stuff anymore. It's just like the bullshitting then just becomes like, my uncle, man, he was like a fucking camera guy at Vivid in the 90s and he said Jen Jameson can't even really squirt, man. Shut the fuck up.
It's just pee, bro.
It's just pee, bro. Yeah, actually, there's a squirt ball you can't see, man. It's called mezzanine. You fucking learned some shit about fucking cinematography, bro.
They start throwing like food at each other, yelling about bokeh.
I was going to say bukkake.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's not real if there's not a pure dish, bro. Shut the fuck up.
That's called, if she eats it, that's called Goku, you fucker.
Next up on Fox 2, Gooning is starting younger and younger. Children at Townsend Grade School in North County have started talking about goon caves and squirting. Betsy Ross, move over. There's a new lady in town. Her name's Lisa Ann.
Oh, man. So welcome to 48 Minutes of Dogs Barking. My name's Jason. This is Brian. And we're here for you every Wednesday morning? Is that what? That's
I guess
what
it's every
Wednesday morning. Yeah.
You wake up, it's hump day.
Yeah.
You're like, I want to listen to a guy who says like too much. And another guy that has kind of radio voice.
But also laughs at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Particularly the last episode.
Yeah, oh, God, yeah.
How many F slurs did you edit out? What do you think?
I lost count at a certain point.
I was no longer. When did you lose count?
I lost count around when it hit the double digits. So that's when I said, you know what, we're not worried about it. If you haven't heard that, by the way, that is last week's episode about G-Man Squad. It is episode 91. These guys sure like to say the F slur is the name of the episode. Find it on all your podcast apps. But yeah, it a lot of F slurs in that episode.
So many F slurs.
Woo! I think it became doubly funny like by the end because you were just doing them to fuck with me.
Oh yeah, which was in the spirit of the age.
Yes, very much so. 90s, early 2000s gaming culture was definitely trying to get a rise.
We were having
something.
a heated gamer moment on the podcast.
Yeah. All right, so speaking of gooning, Brian, a gentleman who goes by the name Bry.ai posted this video to Twitter the other day. It says, AI women are women, which is a handy fucking with of the trans women are women phrasing. And in it, it's a video of a bored person saying no to various AI women. They're all being generated as they pass by. No. And then he hits upon what is essentially the character in Blade Runner. And then... and then it shows him unscrewing the cap on a fleshlight type of thing. And the tag is, now you get to swipe left. Orifice.ai. So yes, the idea being that it is some sort of magical AI thing that is going to...
Finally, I can fuck my computer.
So 404 Media, Samantha Cole wrote a great piece on it. The headline, this man wants to save the world by letting you jerk off into a computer. The creator of the gimmicky DIY sex sleeve says any criticism against the Orifice is, quote, gene warfare. Wonder who that guy's going to be voting for. The article continues, in the fuckable appliance category, a new entry emerges. A guy named Brian claims to have developed...
Not me.
Yeah, it is spelled the same too. So
It is concerning.
Claims to have developed an AI-powered fuck sleeve that talks back and responds to inputs like fingers or a penis, depending on how deeply you penetrate it. He calls it Orifice, quote, silicone adult toy for men with a computer vision system, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, a large language model, and generative moaning.
Jesus.
Oh, Brian, you're so good.
You're so good at turning me on. What smells so good? Is that your bug spray?
Yeah. So here's some brief video of it in progress. You can see him manually penetrating and you can also see the housing as it opens up. It is double-sided, so if you and your bros want to share.
Eiffel Tower. Eiffel Tower, the fuck robot.
It's weird because I think the guy then goes on to say some really weird shit.
I also like how the fuck box has the gamer PC rotating LEDs going through all the different rainbow, different colors of the rainbow. Like, yeah, it matches the fans on my Alienware fucking rig.
That's right. Yeah, I guess it is supposed to be some sort of desktop fuck toy. Brian told me he thinks AI fuck sleeves, quote, can save the world because, quote, the relationship between women and men is broken. He said, the top 20% of the gene pool don't care. They're not caring is genetic warfare. All social action taken against Orifice, all protests, be it in form of tweet or article or legislation, will be gene warfare. That sounds like some incel shit. And, yeah, the idea that there's a top of the gene pool is pretty much pro-natalist, eugenicist nonsense that you see online from real weird people.
So I saw a tweet today from someone that said that they had a cousin who was like an edgelord Kiwi Farms troll and was a miserable human being, and they were autistic, and they decided to kill themselves by walking into their bathroom and covering themselves in lighter fluid and lighting themselves on fire. And that apparently when they did this, I guess they had a moment of the individual that was killing themselves had a moment of oh wow, this is bad. And by the time they turned the water on in the shower just basically ripped the skin off of their body.
Oh, okay.
I kind of feel like that should happen to this guy.
I was wondering where you were going with that. Okay. Yeah. I don't know it's necessarily a fitting punishment, but yeah, it's
a shame there was a much better name, which was Open Orifice.
Yeah. Okay. But just this whole incel, like, the top 20% of the gene pool. The minute you start talking like that, I'm like, oh, well, every argument you're about to make is suspect. Whoops.
Oh. I need a government-designated girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of government-designated girlfriends, Grimes. Oh, come on. Grimes.
The Grimes. Thank you all for participating in the Grimes experiment.
So, for those of you who are not familiar with Grimes, Grimes is a, I don't know, electronic weirdo musician.
Art, pop, vaguely avant-garde.
And Canadian as well, so.
With a mustache.
She played Coachella this past week, and apparently, yeah, her songs played at double speed. And then you hear her going, ah!
Her fucking lisp.
So every time she tries to play a track, it plays at double speed, and she's screaming at the crowd. Well, screaming in frustration, really, but the crowd can hear every utterance of, like, her freaking out. So she's like, okay, fine. People were comparing it unfavorably to Frank Ocean. His Coachella performance apparently was also notably bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. To say the least, I know. It's
Yeah,
probably...
I think most things I've seen at Coachella are pretty bad. I think if you're whatever you're doing as a musician, the worst thing you're ever going to do is play Coachella by so many merits.
Right.
Like I'm trying to think. Like at the drive-in, did Coach? I think Rage Against the Machine's done Coachella, like which I feel is like particularly if your band is quote unquote broken up more than once.
Oh yeah.
I think it's kind of like I would almost say morally bankrupt to do Coachella. It's like, oh, you just want money, and I get it, like if it's something like at the drive-in Refuse, like you guys probably never got the financial compensation you maybe deserve for the influence you had after you broke up, but maybe just don't do like the big soulless money sucking music festival.
Yeah, it seems like that would be the wrong place to do it. Maybe do a couple hometown shows, but I don't know.
Do anything else? I mean, I feel like Lollapalooza is like a little bit more respectable, or Bonnaroo, like
yeah,
because I think there's also a lot less like bad corporate baggage
sure.
with those. Because like Golden Voice does Coachella. And they've got a bunch of sus stuff. I think there might even be some like weird pro-Israel stuff also tied up with Coachella. But I also do like the video. I believe it's the Coachella performance of Death Grips, where MC Rai is just like throwing people off the fucking stage and being a menace. It's pretty good.
So somebody on TikTok, guy named Eskel83, explained what happened. Showing his Serato deck, and it's like this is how it's supposed to be. So he diagnosed it as she pressed the sync button at the wrong time.
Yeah,
and that's not reversible on this particular deck. So.
It also sounds like it was incredibly lazy of her.
Yeah,
allegedly she has had these freakouts before at other festivals where she's had DJ set. So usually the stuff I've seen her when it was just her was her with like a Line 6 multi-effects pedal and like a Roland Gaia keyboard and a SP404 sampler or something like that, which I'm sure is a little bit more complicated in some ways compared to doing a DJ set. But apparently she was blaming it on the software record box. Allegedly, or how I believe how she put it, was that she normally does the file edit management on her own, but she outsourced it to another person, and they fucked it up. I'm just gonna say that probably this is just karma coming back from having like 2 children with the most unfuckable man in the world.
Well, I mean,
Grimes, you can't beat much, Grimes.
Grimes, you hit the sync button, Grimes.
Grimes, you'll hit the sync button. Oh, everything's too fast. I'm dumb off this Molly, Grimes. I'm doing ketamine. I can't handle it, Grimes. I'm going too hard. Oh, I'm stroking out, Grimes. You did this to me, Grimes. Oh, no. Oh, they're going to have to put me in the rocket, Grimes, and send me to the moon. And have moon therapy, Grimes. It's so because you can't beat match. No. Oh, this is you could even do a DJ night at a Mexican restaurant, Grimes. You can't beat match. Oh, I'm dying. Oh, the Cybertruck's so bad, Grimes. I said it was going to be cool, but all it does is break down, act shitty. Oh, Grimes.
Speaking of which, that's what's next, brother.
So, do not look at Tesla Cybertruck.
Oh yeah,
taunt the Tesla Cybertruck.
Don't make it angry. Don't have it play baseball.
There's some guy out in like Glasgow who's gonna be making a video in a couple weeks. Like, what? Got me a Cybertruck. I mean, the missus went out dogging. Oh, you think you can't do certain things? Well, let me tell you, getting the man seat off of it's fucking terrible. It's worse than the bird shite.
So. A user on Twitter, Stonk King, for Tesla Cybertruck owners: 1, do not wash your car in sunlight, and 2, do not tell Tesla SCs that you drove it through a car wash like this guy, even if you turned on car wash mode, they will void your warranty.
The Cybertruck does not work anymore. I'm about 2.5 months in and 3,400 miles, and it's not working right now. Let me show you. So when I go in, open the door, you see one problem. The screen is not coming on. The manual recommends to reset the screen, you have to hold these two buttons in for 30 seconds, and then the screen will reset and display a Tesla logo. But listen to the noise this thing makes when I hold on it. All right, I'll be quiet now. That was a weird popping sound.
Apparently, this gentleman, Captain AD on TikTok, had this to say.
So what did I do different? Today I went to the beach. I took the dogs. There'll be a video on that when I get to it. And went home. Took it through the car wash. Make sure all the sand's off. Vacuum the inside. But I noticed there was some sand in the truck bed. So I put the tonneau cover up and I just hosed off the sand in there. And there seemed to be little slots. That's the only thing I've done that's different. Then I pulled it in the garage. And nothing. We are a couple minutes in. Should have had a little T up here by now and a new display.
3,400 miles on this vehicle, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, there's been people saying they barely get them out the fucking lot.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
It's the new fucking limit. It's the new Corvair.
Oh, yeah. The Cybertruck has been an exhausting and stupid example of like, yeah, Elon, you don't know what you're doing. What the fuck? Why is all this happening? But like, you take your car to the car wash and your car's fucked. How insane is that?
It's fucking wild.
Oh, I sprayed some water in the trunk and now nothing works. Christ almighty. That's going to happen. It's a trunk of a truck. I don't know. I'm baffled. I'm baffled.
What did Miles Cleese say? It's like if you have a Cybertruck, you like get lobotomy or something.
Something like that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know his exact phrasing, but yeah, he definitely didn't hold back. And I honestly, at this point, I think he's right, because boy, what a waste of time and money. You thought you were getting in on the future. You thought you were going to be all hip and cool. It did not escape me, by the way, that this gentleman, Captain AD, is wearing a Mandalorian short sleeve button up shirt.
They saw him at the Tesla dealership strutting in there in his Allbirds and his fucking commuter joggers.
Yep.
And they were like, cha-ching.
Yep.
He comes back like, oh, if you want the undercarriage spray so you can hose sand off of it, that's actually another $4,500 to get the all-weather undercarriage spray.
Just a fool in his money, like just, it's one of those things. I want to feel bad for these guys, but then I'm like, you know what? No.
I always keep coming back to the thought that when I worked at the rich people place, that the individuals that drove up in the fucking Teslas were always like the most clueless, helpless motherfuckers. And, I would like get tickets from people and be like, I think this person works for the Cardinals. Like, like people like, oh, this is a legitimate rich person. Mm-hmm. And I would get these tickets from these people and be like, you're just a dumbass.
Yeah. How did you get all that money?
I had a guy one time that actually had the Audi electric car.
Mm-hmm.
Not to fucking fetishize the vehicles that are destroying this planet, but like, oh, this is actually like a real fucking car.
Right.
Like, I popped open the trunk, put his shit in there, hit the fucking button. I was like, so you like this thing? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look like a piece of shit on like a Tesla. And he's like,
okay, all right.
Yeah. And he's like, check out this shit where I put my golf clubs. And I'm like, I don't care anymore.
Okay, yeah. I just was going to say one thing, but...
motherfuckers in the Midwest would try and show me, like, yeah, I just got this new Bimmer, man, and check this out. Like, this thing moves down the middle, so it's so you put your skis in. I'm like, yeah, but we
where are you going?
Where you go in the Hidden Valley to do the fucking doggy hills or whatever the fuck they're called, bunny
slope, yeah. I mean, that's as close as you're gonna get these days, unless you're driving fucking cross country, which I don't think you should do in an electric or a hybrid vehicle personally, but that's just me. Just given how much these things fuck up all the time.
Oh, and driving them in the cold.
Right.
Apparently, they take like 3 times as long to charge, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth.
And that's because they're still dealing with lithium-ion batteries. That's just,
Those fucking little kids in the Congo gotta stop fucking up the lithium.
I'm telling you. Come on.
Come on. You want to keep all of your fingers? I was trying to think, who was the terrible Belgian guy?
You got to be more specific.
I don't know. I have Belgian in-laws, and my mom's always like, they're so nice. I'm like, yeah, when you think about what they did to the Congo.
Right. Yeah, not good.
Oh, Leopold II.
Okay.
Do you want us to bring back Leopold II if you stop fucking up the lithium so it doesn't do good in the cold?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
I don't know. There's no real good segue for this, so I'm just going to break this down for you.
Speaking of things you can't eat if you don't have your fingers because you weren't mining lithium good as a child.
Oh, man, there you go. Okay. That's
we
right.
have Borga.
We have Borger. Gabe Pluguez, whose bio says, I help Christian entrepreneurs lose fat inside defaultkings.com. 502 plus men served. Hey, not to slut shame, but, our biblical process to lose 10 to 30 pounds or more.
Did he bartend at Atomic Cowboy?
So his post, which actually became an ad when he paid for it, 74 grams of protein, 770 calories. You would have a 6-pack if you ate this 2 to 3 times a day, and I'll DM you the recipe for free. Just reply burger or retweet this tweet. Must be following.
I mean, it is a treat.
It is a treat, absolutely. It's not an everyday food, but apparently he thinks it is. Well, our good friend Keithor Jensen messaged the guy and said, yeah, you know what? I would like this burger recipe. It says, do you remember the reply burger to get the burger recipe guy? He sent me the burger recipe, and the recipe is as follows: 10 ounces, 93.7 ground beef, normal burger buns, sugar-free ketchup, normal mustard, any veggies you want, 4 slices reduced fat cheddar. A, that's not a recipe. B, 93.7 beef?
And you're not cracking the egg in there?
Nothing. No. That's ridiculous.
Drying out your fucking mouth.
Olive oil,
fucking
something.
meat sand, yeah.
Yeah, just you're dry as hell, bro.
This might disgust you, but that's what I use for chili.
Well, that's perfectly fine with chili because it's not the main ingredient as opposed to a burger where that's pretty much all it is. A burger, you got to have at least 80-20, personally, if you ask me. And if I don't have 80-20, I crack an egg. Like you said, you got to have some moisture in there.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And also you get, if you're cracking an egg, you get, some added flavor, some proteins.
And it binds it together real nice.
Yeah. Part of why you do it, and you get the protein chains help bring it together when you're cooking.
Yeah, there's, a million different reasons why, but like this, 10 ounces of 93.7, right? Sugar-free ketchup, which, okay. You don't have to have ketchup on a burger. If you don't want the sugars, don't have ketchup. That's what I'm saying. But, normal buns. Any veggies you want. In this photo, it looks like some sauteed onions, and that's it. 4 slices reduced fat cheddar. You could probably cut some calories with the cheese, brother.
Yeah, no shit.
1 slice of cheddar is fine.
I don't know if you really need 4 slices.
No, 1 per burger is fine.
Yeah, 2 if you're feeling slutty,
but even that, you're going to be. That's a whole nother hundo calories per slice, depending on how bad your American cheese is. It's probably like 120 for 2.
I really feel like if you just had like a good slice of Gouda.
Yeah, exactly.
Pepper jack, like that gives you enough added flavor.
Right. It's bonkers. I have very strong feelings about burgers, and you know this. You just had one the other day.
You just cooked some burgers for us over the weekend. They were fucking folks. This man knows how to cook a burger, and the fixins. Yeah, the fixins were divine.
So I have a very particular set of.
I'm a man with a very particular set.
I know. I was trying to avoid saying that because I started that sentence and went, this is turning into the Taken speech. I'm very, very particular about burgers. One of a certain way. I don't fuck around with 93.7. For those of you not familiar with the terminology, that is your fat to meat content. So 5% fat, 95% meat. You're making meatloaf with that is essentially what you're doing. You're not making, juicy burgers. There's no flavor.
Yeah. And I use 93 when I'm doing things like chili.
Yeah.
Just because I'm too lazy to degrease.
And that's fine. That's a very specific purpose that you're using it for. That fits what you're doing because you're making up for that with all the other stuff that's
accoutrement.
happening. Yeah. You're not going to notice that in a chili as much as you would in, I don't know, meatballs or even, whatever.
You can still use like 93 for making sloppy joes because you're doing fucking barbecue sauce anyways and shit like that.
Sure. Tomato paste and all that stuff. Yeah, you're kind of adding in the moisture other ways. But this is
psychotic.
It's psychotic. There's no reason for this.
The fact that he's not even saying like, oh yeah, a little bit of garlic powder and like salt and pepper in the burger.
Nothing. Nothing. Just raw dog in life, man. I don't
like. It's just like so. Anyways, if you were to eat this 2 to 3 times a day and lose weight, eat prison food.
Yeah,
it looks like the food that they served me and at the high school I went to.
Yeah,
and the school district that was always risking to lose its own accreditation.
One of the replies to Kathor's post here. This is halfway to a good burger. He's going through, garbage tier, frozen pre-made patty. You'll get an argument there. Quote, American cheese, okay, decent quality ground beef and cheddar, great, top quality beef, cooked medium rare, and brioche bun and blue cheese. Kathor's response, I will brook no calumny on American cheese, hater.
I feel like the burger is like about the only spot American cheese really shines.
Yeah, because of a very specific use case. Yeah, it's that, and every once in a while a grilled cheese, but you have to have a second cheese on there for flavor. Anyway, here's a hot take appreciator at I Hate MYT. Surely people who unironically message a random guy needing a, quote, burger recipe need to be told to add salt and pepper. Not wrong. Just baffling to me. And
real disgusting filth burger.
The whole idea is that it's like, yes, our biblical process to lose 10 to 30 pounds.
This is like Ezekiel bread, but for burger. This is the burger that Moses ate on the ark.
Yeah.
Noah, there will only be 93.7 beef on the ark, Noah.
Yes, my lord.
Yes, my lord. I'll be sending the angels down to check. Yes, sir.
Oh man! So this weekend saw a return to World of Warcraft for a very particular online type of person. This, according to the Twitter account Undead Keith at Neo Scythian. Someone playing WoW has staged a right-wing mass protest. At least 50 or more dead bodies in Orgrimmar, all of them with names like Clinton Victim, Pizzagate True, BLM Terrorist, Close the Border, Adrenochrome. So apparently someone decided in World of Warcraft to stage this kind of like, okay, who else is seeing this? Right-wing chuds who play WoW? That's a really small audience. Who are you supposed to be convincing with this?
Yeah, I like the response here. That was me. Had the day off and thought I'd try and get the word out about what's really going on. From Stotzy Boots at Takenzo Kenzie.
Yep. Here's Tiananmen Square. Read about it. 10 million orcs starved in front of the bourgeois auction house. Glory to Chairman Mao. There's someone else's edited screenshot there. Incredibly based. Koof Cops says, oh, Groiper. Kind of fucked up that one guy took all the best names on the server. Yeah, I'm going to be logging in as my account Clinton Victim.
Did you ever play War of Warcraft?
I never did. I think I dodged that particular bullet.
Played it for 3 or 4 months straight. A particularly low part of my life, which is when you get into MMORPGs. Yeah, you don't get into MMORPGs because like things are going great.
Things are going good.
But I'm trying to remember what the name of my character was. I had one that was pretty obnoxious. Oh, it was Monkey Cheese.
Oh no!
And I played in a Goon clan that were called Sons of Goku.
Oh no.
And the whole entire thing is that we all picked really obnoxious, annoying names.
Yeah.
So we would hope that puppies wouldn't want to like join up with us too much.
Okay.
And we ended up actually inviting a couple people that we played with in random skirmishes and whatever. Like, oh, that was fun. Yeah, if you're looking for a clan, you can be with us for a while. Like one guy, what he told us was that he was a school resource teacher.
Oh no.
And he was just playing WoW on his laptop, like while monitoring in ISS.
Oh god.
And I'm like, it's pretty fucking awesome.
Oh
Like,
my god.
yeah, I just can't, like, in World of Warcraft, like, I will.
It's a very particular audience. It's a very small audience too, because I don't think WoW's numbers are anywhere what they used to be.
I think they're still pretty high. I think they're still above 10 million.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like
That's
it
a
would
surprising
be more, it'd be
number.
more cutting edge if it were Final Fantasy 14.
Yes, absolutely.
My brother told me that when he was playing World of Warcraft, he was playing in a clan, and it got really dark. He's like, yeah, there was like this married couple that was in our clan, and like fairly sure they were neglecting their children.
Oh yeah, those stories were pretty rampant in the early days.
There was a couple that I knew. I actually got them talking to each other in high school, and now they have like 3 kids and all that. But they both went to the same college, and they both ended up dropping out because all they did was play World of Warcraft.
That's
like,
a
I mean,
lot.
I don't know. If I'm like 19, all I'm doing is playing video games and fucking my girlfriend. Like, I mean, life could be worse.
Sure.
But, like, these are both two very smart, talented people.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, their lives are fine now. I don't think like they're like destitute or anything, but like that's a rough curveball to give yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I cringed internally when I heard that. I was like, oh, well, I mean, I guess.
Like, again, like they're both doing. They're not like they're fine. Like,
yeah.
they have good jobs. Like, their lives aren't fucked.
I thought that's where you were going with the story because you mentioned
but that's just like, well, I heard that they had like both had to basically drop out of college because they're playing. All they were doing is basically fucking and playing World of Warcraft. Which is, goddamn.
Yeah, I mean, there are worse ways to pass the time, for sure.
Yeah. I just don't know if it's worth failing out of college for.
No, yeah, I wouldn't imagine that. This is like a lot of money down the drain.
Yes.
Speaking of a lot of money down the drain, Brian, seamless segue. It's Crypto Scam of the Week.
You're listening to 48 Minutes of Dogs Barking, the podcast.
And now it's time for the Crypto Scam of the Week.
This week we were talking about, are you familiar with this? This STFIL?
No, not at all.
All right, so the idea behind it, STFIL, according to Molly White at Web3 is going great, a protocol that promises liquid staking and leverage mining to holders of Filecoin's FIL token, announced on Twitter, quote, "We believe that the STFIL core technical team is under investigation by local Chinese police." According to them, while some of the core members were detained by Chinese police, tokens, the FIL tokens, were moved to an unknown wallet. They also acknowledged that there had been, quote, "abnormal, unscheduled upgrades to the protocol." They asked community members for help in tracking the wallet. Some speculated that the story was fake. And that's where I'm leaning as well. Because where are you moving that money, bro?
Yeah.
And then the project
my bro's holding it while I'm talking to the cops.
It's the old holding it for a friend, but it's real this time, I promise. Yeah, according to The Block, STFIL stated on Twitter Tuesday that its core team members were under investigation. A large amount was moved. That was 2.5 million FIL tokens, $22 million. They were moved ahead of an unscheduled update to the protocol. Upon learning, we're looking for assistance. Nothing more has been said about this, so all I have is conjecture and the word of these team members, which generally is not good enough to go on. But I'm going to go ahead and call my shot. I'm going to do a Babe Ruth moment. They're taking the money and running.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just something
Also,
tells me.
This is the first I have heard someone talk about Filecoin
Yeah.
in probably 3 or 4 years.
So it's been around a while.
It's been around, but I don't even know. Like, I didn't even know Filecoin was still a thing. That's how fucking obscure and weird this is. Maybe it's a thing that's only popular with Asian markets, but every once in a while you'll see an image on crypto Twitter get passed around. Of, shows how quickly the market changes as far as like what's popular, what has staying power, by showing like what the listed coins were on Coinbase in like 2016.
Yeah.
And I think like Ethereum and Bitcoin and Ripple XRP are like the only 3 that are still like, in Litecoin, I think, are the only ones that are still around.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. This the Block article does mention that last August, Chinese authorities charged a local Filecoin mining firm and its executives for allegedly orchestrating an 83.3 million pyramid scheme. And then 3 years ago, the local police seized 62 million from a Filecoin miner. So it is being used for nefarious purposes already in other places. And so the idea that you're going to have liquidity by giving them Filecoin seems like a
I don't know
extra
if they're like
steps.
doing like loans or something.
Liquid staking is what they called it. You would put up your portion of it in Filecoin for returns later, I guess. I'm just baffled by the whole thing, and no representatives from the police have come out and confirmed the story. So it's one of those things where it's just the word of this group.
Yeah, it's
Feels
just,
bad.
they're just like, who put this turd in our pants? Sir, it was you who shared the turd. No, I didn't.
The dev died in a plane crash. Sorry, all our money's gone.
The dev was, after launch, he decided he was going to go climb Mount Everest, and his oxygen tank ran out, and he died.
And we can't move him because, he's just frozen in place up there. Sorry, guys. Money's gone.
We don't know what happened to his cold wallet, his Trezor.
There were a couple projects, too, where a guy did say, like, our guy died in a plane crash or something.
He tried to suck his own dick and snapped his spine.
And we don't have access to anything, sorry. But yeah, this here from STFIL. We believe that the technical team is under investigation by local Chinese police. Not we know. That's a couple of his responses are just like, huh? Can you tell me where the police are? Please do something to help the investigator. Many of us are staked our FIL savings in STFIL. There is no reason for you to just watch it sink. How do I unstake? Yeah, STFIL case tells us not to touch Chinese projects because they'll be robbed by the Chinese government.
I would never accept a Coke from a Chinese man. Terrible mistake to make.
He will have micturated in it.
Well, speaking of terrible things.
Yes.
So imagine, Jason.
Yeah.
4 balls on the edge of a cliff.
Okay.
And the ball closest to the cliff falls off.
Uh-huh.
And the other 3 balls move forward. And the 4th ball is replaced with a new ball.
Uh-huh.
Time works much the same way.
For those of you who have been following along with us for a long time, you may know what this is referencing. Some of you may not. This is a RPG created by Something Awful users called Zybourne Clock. I was able to piece together some interesting stuff. I was not around when Zybourne Clock was first a thing, so I had to kind of...
I was there.
Okay.
I was there when the posts were written. I was there when the magic was born.
Okay. So what can you tell us? What was the...
That era of the Something Awful forums was probably, I want to say, like the second heyday. And there was always an element of goons that tried to buy off more than they could chew. Mm-hmm. And the Zybourne Clock was one of those. And the problem with goon projects is that 9 times out of 10... what basically happens is that someone has like an idea that maybe isn't that bad, but they don't necessarily have the talent or the drive to bring it fruition, to bring it forward, to actually do anything with it. The long-running joke used to be when a goon project like this would launch or someone would make a post like, hey, I have this idea. Would anyone be willing to work on me with this? Is always I can do the website.
Well, yeah, because you're talking to forums users. Their skills are generally very limited.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So according to the Essay Cyclopedia, I don't know how up-to-date this information is, so we'll see. The Zybourne Clock was a Goon project to create a sci-fi electro-punk RPG using RPG Maker software. It is now best known for being a spectacular failure that makes every other failed Goon project pale in comparison. It was originally started in the BYOB subforum. Now, BYOB, generally known as the chill zone, very cool, chill people in there.
It's where DB once wrote BYOB on his butt.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's right. Rex Meteorite and Occupy Japan created the project mid-December 2006 with great fanfare.
Forgot about Occupy Japan and Rex Meteorite.
So recruitment/discussions threads were started in both BYOB and the game subforum. Multiple banner ads were bought. I still don't have the banner ads. I'm looking for them. And contributors even set up an offsite server and forum to coordinate development. Over 50 active contributors were claimed. Some initial work was shown off, and things were looking pretty good. Barely 2 weeks later, the project had imploded under a shitstorm of drama and neglect. The external site closed, and the still active banner ads pointed to threads that were now either locked or gassed. In the terms of something awful, when something is the gas chamber, that means not only is it bad, it's been sectioned away in its own special subforum. Although most of the action happened on the external forums, most accounts state that things immediately turned clicky and circle-jerky, and drama spread unchecked as there was no effective organization or leadership to settle disputes or coordinate efforts. Although the project was short-lived, the Zybourne Clock lives on in the form of hilariously bad concept art and dialogue that get brought up from time to time. Foremost among these, and this is the one that I always come back to, is Johnny Five Aces, a beer-drinking, cigar-smoking,
foreheadless man with some sort of hip dysplasia. With a leg propped up on a table, showing his hip dysplasia, a weird moose knuckle, drinking a stein of beer with a claw hand.
He's holding up the last ace. There are 4 aces on the table, and the 5th ace is in his hand, but his hand's got a middle finger up, holding the ace, and this weird, it's very bad. So Zybourne Clock, in its inception, according to this website that I found, it was called she.bibanon.org. That is everything she knows, the only reliable source, it says. So this is 4 years worth of stuff about Zybourne Clock. This was supposed to be an actual script for the gameplay. The prelude is as follows.
In parentheses, this is supposed to be actual script for the gameplay.
Yeah.
Rough draft, not for public consumption. Prelude. At the end of a long room filled with whispers and handshakes sits a man fondling a small dark object.
Who up fondling a small dark object? Sorry.
Who up pondering their small dark object. Anyways, the ancient wooden benches along the room's perimeter are full, mostly of women and children, leaving the men to mingle. The man sits firmly, avoiding eye contact, which could be misinterpreted as an offer of his seat. He clutches the object nervously through a forest of arms, legs, and coattails. A small child wanders through the men. The man, drawn by curiosity and free of her unattentive mother's eye.
"What you got there, mister?"
quotes the girl. He pauses for a moment, considering plots what might employ the child as a spy, paid in food to inquire. Exhausted and drawn to the child's innocence, the wall of secrecy melt for a moment. "This, my darling, is a device. A device many men and many women have died to see, to understand, and to own. In many ways, it is like one of your toys, but a toy for adults. This, darling, is the Zybourne Clock." Suddenly, barely visible in the dim light, the child's eyes change. The hazelnut brown tones are ungluing into silver, melting in the swirls of pearl and mechanical shades. Her body loses its shy posture and rapidly conforms to a rigid, upright stance. Her mouth opens slightly with programmed precision. She moves her wrist slowly towards her tiny lips.
"Orange Fox to Ditris. Orange Fox to Ditris. The golden egg has been located. I repeat, we've got it. Over."
Frozen with guilt, the man slowly begins to run through the crowd. The girl screams,
"Rape! Rape! He tried to touch me! Help!"
For Dirk McLaurin, Wednesday, July 19th, 2381 has begun very poorly.
And they misspelled Wednesday, which... Wednesday? Dirk McLaurin. Biff hard cheese. Just a very... very bad. And this, little girl is a robot spy? I don't know. They're very...
That makes false claims of rape?
Yeah, not...
Wow, that's problematic.
Yeah, even for 2007.
Even 2381. God, this is so bad.
It is very bad. I'll take this one. Time. This was also real, in parentheses. We had all the main logistics points of our projects hammered out in our prototype build, but there were a few more things to be decided. What would this clock do when it gets back in time besides gather energy? The answer came to me while reading an article out of a capital S Science magazine that I picked up about 2 years ago. The article basically summarized how the planet got to its current point in its evolutionary cycle and where it had started. It compared key points of life over 20 millennia and now. I sat there and thought about the article for a good 3 hours. If we could subtly alter the cycle at which the planet terraforms and speed up human evolution, we could, possibly, make humanity advance far past wars in a few millennia's time. My heart jumped into my throat as I ran through the bay doors to tell my colleagues that I had finally found a safe way to alter the way the timeline to such a degree as to not rip a hole in time itself. As I looked around the room, my excitement faded. All of them looked as if they had just become very ill.
Doctor, you understand if we do this, we will fade from existence as the timeline corrects itself.
One of my colleagues said in the grimmest manner I had ever heard him speak before. I began to turn pale and dizzy. I quickly found a chair and used the magazine that I was subsequently still clutching to fan myself.
Well, there must be a way around this. There must be,
I said, even though I knew I was lying to myself. We sat up that night and discussed ideas on how to develop a new one. What we came up with was grim. We theorized that when you send an object through time, it does not create a new timeline that overrides the current like we had originally thought. When the object enters the time stream, time begins to correct itself. Let me use this example. Imagine 4 balls on the edge of a cliff. Say a direct copy of the ball nearest the cliff is sent to the back of the line of balls and takes the place of the first ball. The formerly first ball becomes the second becomes the third, and the fourth falls off the cliff. Time works the same way. It's still, all these years later, I do not fucking understand what they're saying with this.
I don't either.
It's baffling in its overwrought complexity. They're trying to do this like really complicated time travel sci-fi story. Yeah, the deadlines per the FIAD thread here. Now, this is something they'd started in January. The concept art, right? All things due January 31st. Style, overall plot, setting, character names, character histories, nation-state bios/names, overall world histories, boss bios/names, dungeon bios, story arcs, game titles, and then in all caps, all other requests due by subsection due date. 30 days to write all of that, spread amongst, I think they said 50 goons. Okay. Yeah. But then here we go. Tedious stuff. I will probably do most of this, but I may need help. Due February 1st. That's a day after everything else is due, by the way. Overall weapons list, overall items list, overall armor list, overall accessory list, bestiary, all other requests. And they give themselves 2 months later to do scripting of Act 1, all of NPCs lines, cutscenes, in-game scripting, scripting of Act 2, same as above. And then edit those scripts down within 2 weeks. Act 1 script edited, Act 2 script edited. Revisions, no due date. Revisions are on-the-spot editors, and revision can be doing. Art, all art. Total deadline, June 15th. That includes interface, concept, sprites, tile sets, box art, cutscenes. So they put themselves in an extremely tight deadline for no real reason. This is a project you're doing with a group of friends.
Hopefully for fun.
Right. Because you enjoy this kind of thing. But they're like, oh yeah, no, we're all of our town tile sets are due by June. It's like you gave yourself 6 months. 6 months to do everything else and this. Concept art for art book, game manual, and player's guide. You can't have all three if this is your first one. Pick one. Player's guide, game manual, or an art book that you're going to sell for a Kickstarter or something. Obviously, this is pretty much pre-Kickstarter, but you don't understand what I'm saying.
Oh, imagine if Kickstarter had existed.
I'm surprised someone hasn't tried to reboot Zybourne Clock on the Kickstarter. I'd be really surprised that they hadn't. But yeah, I mean, they're talking about all cutscene animations by July. The battle system to be finished July 15th. August 1st, final revisions. They gave themselves 8 months, which, if you know anything about game development, is extremely tight. It's a tight deadline. They wanted to have it out, I guess, in the same year that they thought of the idea.
Sure.
But baffling. I know they said we're making it an RPG maker and a lot of the stuff is going to be a little bit easier. But even so, oh boy, that feels rough. I don't know if you ever tried making a game in RPG Maker.
No, I haven't.
It is an undertaking.
Yeah.
I tried once and gave up about 2 weeks in. I got as far as like the first scripted scene and like, none of this is working right. This sucks. I just want to go play an RPG. I don't want to write one. There's a friend of mine in high school, Josh, was trying to work together on something very similar to this. Time travel, because everybody loves Chrono Trigger. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to do Chrono Trigger.
Oh, Chrono Trigger is so fucking good.
Oh, it's great. And it's not been topped. Because people will be like, oh, well, you played Chrono Cross? Yes, I have.
I watched a friend's younger brother play Chrono Cross for about 15 minutes, and I was like, nope. It doesn't. To me, they don't even seem like they're related.
It's so vague and tenuous is the connection, and because it has the word Chrono in the title.
Lamb Scam.
Yeah.
Seen some posters. I haven't thought about some of these people in like probably a decade. Oh, Lucavi.
Mm-hmm. So we're reading through the FYID thread because since a lot of this stuff has been posted to another site and forum which have subsequently been shut down, this is probably going to be, sadly, our best source. And so a lot of it is just shit posting. Remember, we can reuse monsters, change their color, and call them a different name, and someone just going, lol. I'm interested to see how this turns out. Please tell me this is a massive fake post conspiracy. And then someone's like, no, here it is. Occupy Japan.
A My Little Pony avatar.
With the red text saying, I've spent so much time clopping to fillies that my joints have locked up. Which, if you're not in the brony fandom, clopping is jacking off, fillies being young ponies. Yeah. What is electropunk? Because that was a question I had about their setting, right? Think 1910 to 1930 Earth. So what they're saying is steampunk. Because I don't know if steampunk had a name at the time.
Sort of.
Combine that with the theories of Tesla proven 100% true, and everything suggested by Tesla to not only be feasible but readily available. World War I armies armed with railguns and EMP grenades for destroying anti-grav tanks that are powered by wireless power transmission. Vast fleets of Zeppelins ferry passengers across national borders far faster and in far greater luxury than carriage or automobile. National boundaries guarded by Tesla coils and death rays that would turn any extended ground conflict into the horror of the World War I trenches 100-fold. Our story doesn't take place on Earth. It's like, well, why did you spend all this time talking about Earth shit? Like, just imagine. But then also, we're not doing that. Dr. Zybourne is named after the titular doctor who created the Zybourne Clock, a device that will be sent far, far, far into the planet's past and hopefully prevent the seemingly inevitable future war. The clock itself is a large object with various time readouts, which will count the days, years, and millennia until the clock is back at the same moment it was sent, at which point it will deactivate. Still don't know how that works, but all right. Here's some of the art here. Jesus Christ. The first half of the game will struggle around Silas. That's the main character, a weapon R&D specialist employed by the government of his country, living at what roughly equates to the mid-1920s. First half of the game will center around his struggles with the government he works for, the church he deals arms to, and the mystery of the Zybourne Clock. The second half will center around a different female protagonist whose goals are both related to Silas and contrary at the same time. Currently, we have 6 or 7 characters completely written out, our plot finalized, a ton of music, both MIDI and fully orchestrated, and quite a bit of concept art. And this was, as of the original posting,
December 2006.
Okay, all right. December 2006. So yes, they still wanted 9 months of development to happen rather quickly.
So you could develop a game in like 9 months, like in 92.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that was about the development time of Super Mario World proper.
Yeah.
And I don't think even Mario 64's development time was much longer than that as well. It really wasn't until the PS3 generation that you started having stuff take 2 or 3 years or longer.
The pure amount of writing that it takes, and again, these are all amateurs. These aren't people whose job it is to write for games. And they're also getting new.
Who's your scenario developer on this?
Well, yeah.
Who's proofreading lines?
I'm sure a lot of that was hashed out on the offsite site, but everyone's like, oh, I can do sprites. I can do the website. Yeah. So you can think of it as two 50-ish hour games tied together by plot, says Occupy Japan. If that sounds like a ridiculous amount of time, I made a 6 or 7 hour RPG in about a week with the program we're using, and that was just me doing it and not a team of 50 people. Okay, so maybe if they're using a lot of these pre-baked assets and stuff from RPG Maker, maybe 9 months isn't all that strange of amount of time. I guess it just feels long. It feels extremely abbreviated now. Yeah. But also, it's an arbitrary deadline. You set a deadline for yourself. It didn't need to be there.
Right. If you're going to set a deadline, you probably don't need to be so tight.
No. Yeah, if you're setting the deadline and it's just something for your enjoyment, give yourself a year. Give yourself a little bit more than that. Because, what if somebody flakes out? What if somebody who's writing drops, all that stuff? You just kind of factor that in. Just kind of have that at the ready. Or just, when it's done. Amateur projects especially. They had to make a big announcement here. We're not going to post the link to our forum so that people who aren't interested or just want to troll can register. Fair enough. If you're posting something you're passionate about on the internet, chances are trolls will show up to take a shit.
Oh no, Space Moose.
Oh no,
banned.
Let's see what Space Moose got banned for. Let's see here. The thread. Look at these mice fucking. And Space Moose apparently posted.
Actually, I think they're rats.
Yeah. Anyway, Space Moose, you idiot. So the most infamous piece of art from the Zybourne Clock is the Johnny Five Aces art. The classic line drawing here. Looks to be pencil. Wonderful stuff. But
yeah, Johnny Five Aces, the most infamous character. Lots of ironic fan art.
Yes.
Was made for this. There was a guy who posted in YCS. I want to say his username was Gaz or Gaz. Yeah. And he was a concept artist for a video game studio that had a weird time-related video game. It was an FPS, and I actually remember it getting raked over the fucking coals on X-Play. I think that was probably the most press it got.
Oh, wow.
But he was a talented enough concept artist, and the image you have here on the screen of Johnny Five Aces and Schlotz.
Yep. Escaping the Vandermouse plane dash blimp.
Yeah. He took that and made actually a really rather compelling piece of artwork out of it. And it was the wallpaper on my PC for a number of years. There was the female character.
Yeah, let me see if I've got that.
Oh, so there you go. That's one of the pieces that guy did.
Yeah, Gauze, yeah. The painting of Johnny, they're actually a really good painting, but just of that, that shitty art and just the signature Johnny.
There might be the comic I'm talking about might come up here. If we go back
I think
to
it's
all the art. I think that was Gauze.
It looks very similar to the last one that we saw of Johnny. So yeah, here's them falling off the plane / blimp. Excuse me.
Flamp.
Yeah. Johnny still clutching the ace and a mug of beer.
A mug of beer, and Schlotz, who is kind of like a chubby man in a skull cap and an overcoat, has a large format camera. Like a wet plate camera in the air, and he's taking I guess you're assuming he's taking a photo of this whole thing.
Yeah. Oh boy. Oh,
yeah, that was the wallpaper on my camera, or not my camera, on my computer for a number of years.
Oh, Johnny. So, December of 2019, the Zybourne Clock concept art of Johnny Five Aces was put up on eBay. Somebody bought it because Cunert_ebooks on Twitter found. This is going through my stuff in my parents' house for the holidays, and holy shit, look what I found. Yes, I did the bad internet drawing. And it shows not only Schlotz and Johnny, but also a gentleman whose name I can barely read because it's in his...
Greg...
Gammon? Gross?
Hammond? I don't know. It's fucking terrible grade school cursive.
Okay, Gross Gammon. There it is. An equally bad drawing that just not happened to not get screen capped by Fayed. So those drawings went on eBay, and it got bought. Somebody bought Freddie Wong. 90s later, bought the Johnny Five Aces art for $5,100. Him posting on Twitter here, I bought the Johnny Five Aces art. I genuinely believe it is pure art and an incredibly important artifact of internet culture. As its steward, I will protect and treasure it forever. The idea of the Zybourne Clock is an order of magnitude more impactful and powerful than the idea of a banana taped to a wall. That art is bullshit. Johnny Five Aces is true art. I don't necessarily know that that's true. He wants to justify his $5,000 purchase.
You bought this weird piece of internet nerd outsider art, and that's fine. You don't have to gussy it up.
Right. Sexy facts for you here. I was afraid it was a joke bid. Glad it's going to somebody who will appreciate it. Yeah, for $5,100, you could get an actual Zybourne Clock project off the ground, which might actually be the plan. Come to think of it, the response, Carrie LaRose saying, "It's this kind of thinking that got us Zybourne Clock in the first place." And thus, I fully support it. Yeah, some people unironically appreciated Johnny Five Aces and Zybourne Clock for what it was, not the least of which were the developers of Fallout New Vegas. If you start a new game in Fallout New Vegas, if you recently watched the Amazon show, for example, and you take the perk Wild Wasteland, you have to have the Wild Wasteland perk for you to be able to see this. Overlooking Good Springs is going to be Johnny on the edge of a cliff with 4 balls. Joshua Sawyer, one of the developers, did say, "Yep, that was intentional. We all really kind of thought this was really funny."
Josh, J.E. Sawyer is how I mostly know him. He has a great little Tumblr called Frog Helmet. Him and Chris Avalon are probably the 2 biggest creative minds behind Fallout New Vegas. Sawyer on his Tumblr has answered numerous philosophical questions about the game world that they designed, and it's actually super fucking interesting because people come up with him with hypotheticals, and it's almost it's kind of like people coming to J.K. Rowling and asking about like what about Jewish wizards and shit like that. But he actually, his responses are actually like really thoughtful and aren't just like pointless lore building. Like, well, this is my opinion. This is why I had Mr. House do this, or why we had this certain type of engagement,
right,
and things like that. And I always felt that was super interesting. But yeah, he put Something Awful references into a couple games that he worked on, I believe. Because this is actually how I came to you. I was like, oh, we should just do all the Something Awful references in Fallout New Vegas. And it wasn't until I looked, I was like, oh, there's only like 2 or 3.
Right.
There's this, and then there is a special plasma rifle that you can get in the northern part of the map that's like called the something other 186. And 186 was the forum ID for YCS.
Okay. Your console sucks, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think there's like one other, but
okay.
And I was like, maybe there isn't here as much as I remember, but we were like, well, we should do Zybourne Clock.
Yeah, Zybourne Clock itself is such a weird fixture because it's a stand-in for all the big ambitious ideas that Goons had that never came to fruition. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like the
the zipline that was going to kill somebody.
The zipline was going to kill somebody. I was going to think the Happy Cat plushies.
Oh God, yeah.
Scat swapping was technically a failed game project.
Well, I don't know if it failed. I think they got what they wanted.
I think it's one of the few that actually got, but Metis got permabanned.
True.
The poster, the OP, the guy who was behind it got permabanned for it because it took so long. And
right.
I don't think he was unpermabanned.
No, probably not. He probably had to re-reg. So 12 years ago, a user on Reddit did an AMA. I was the lead level designer of the Zybourne Clock before it turned into a huge meme from Something Awful AMA. So I'm going to go through a couple of these questions and answers because I think they're pretty indicative of kind of what happened. What specifically can you recall is the most stupid and bullshit argument that erupted between the developers? I think the dumbest thing was when someone who had actual game-making know-how was kicked off the team due to some story/game element argument. I don't know specifically what the argument was about, but when that guy was kicked out, he made a post about it, and the project was open game for mocking. That was the beginning of the end. So they booted somebody with actual game know-how. Someone asked, what the hell was the game actually about? Tell you the truth, I don't even know what was going on. I still don't understand the 4 balls on a cliff theory. I always thought time travel games are very hard to do and have to be done carefully. Most of the story that is out now was leaked after the fact. They kept it closely guarded unless you were one of the writers. I just knew that the clock itself was actually a city that floated in midair in the middle of the ocean and was supposed to have a very steampunk feel to it. Can you remember how you felt the first time you saw the concept art for Johnny Five Aces? At first, my feelings were, really? Going with that. What always has and always will sell me is the fact that he is flipping you off with an ace seemingly glued to his middle finger. Johnny Five Aces is the best thing to come from that project. Yes, there was a trailer. Now, of course, this was probably created by people who were mocking the game. Doug Beach production.
I feel like this has to be a bit because this is just the art ripped off of some of the other stuff we've seen.
Yeah.
But it's still pretty funny.
So, yes, the game that never was, the Zybourne Clock. What a time to be alive, Brian.
It really was something else. And I think the only Goon game projects, plural, that actually were completed, technically Minecraft was one.
Oh, yeah, that's a fair point.
The world's loneliest rich man.
Notch. Oh boy.
It's funny because I'll make the argument, the money can't buy you happiness thing is a thought come up by rich people to keep people from not demanding what they actually deserve to be happy and comfortable in life.
Right.
But Notch is proof that maybe 1 in 100.
Yeah.
People,
Notch and Elon. That's pretty much all the two examples I can hold up. They're both miserable.
I think the only one besides that was actually Awful Fantasy, which Lotax made.
Okay, yeah.
Which was a ROM hack of Final Fantasy VI that had 1,000,001 forums references that were obscure back in 2003 when I played it.
Right.
And I'm sure is impenetrable now.
Well, wasn't Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden?
Technically.
I mean, I know Goon's worked on it, so
I mean that also came about the same time, and I mean I still think Barkley Shut Up and Jam is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
We just talked about that, right?
We did briefly, yeah. I think we might have even done a whole episode. I'll have to look back.
I can't remember.
I know.
I my mind is so wobbly ever since the Chaos Dunk.
Yeah. It's just a damn shame what he did to the city of Chicago. But so Goon projects often would start with a burst of creativity. Everyone's all so hyped, and we're going to get this thing done. We're going to make it. It's going to be so cool. And 9 times out of 10, it just never crossed the finish line. And I think rightfully so, Zybourne Clock is kind of seen as the public and shittiest example of a Goon project. Because relentlessly mocked and fired anytime there was any kind of update. There was just memes and shit came out before anything was even done. And like the guy said, people who actually knew how to make games were fired from it for petty personal disagreements, which I'm sure happens in the actual games industry all the time with professionals as well. But it just put the stink on it of a doomed project, doomed from the start.
A doomed project.
Ah.
Apparently, Israel has officially launched an attack on Iran.
Okay, well, if you are listening to this episode in a smoldering wasteland, we apologize for the quality of the rad roach meat that you're about to consume. Yeah.
Ooh.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
Shock.jpg.
Well, you know what the music means. That means it's time for Shock.jpg, Brian.
Oh, baby.
Oh, baby.
We're about to do it. We're about to look at some gross shit. Wow, Jason, what gross shit do you have ready for? Is it 2 people eating a filet mignon off of dissected carcass of a dead dog?
No. Somehow, not as bad as that, but still not great. It's called PhoneJapan, Brian. The subtitle here, aren't these Japanese girls wonderful? And PhoneJapan.com. Yep.
Oh, that's so much bodily. Whoa.
So PhoneJapan depicts 2 young women completely nude.
One vomiting on the other, and the vomit looks like wet dog food.
Really, really nasty.
Really rich.
Really rich. And the song Turning Japanese. The vapors in the background there. Puke fetish stuff is... it's one of those things. It's one of those things that I have a hard time with, but I was like, okay, this is short. It just loops. It's just someone hurling and then a repeating of the hurling. I can get with that more than I can get with most other things that are puke related. This one is also weird though because they're covered in something else that I'm not sure is puke. Because it's pixelated, because it looks kind of grainy and weird.
It's that weird kind of overexposed thing that early digital cameras and recorders seem to love to do in the aughts.
Just blown out,
Yeah, everything's about a stop or two overexposed. It could be poo-poo.
That's what I was afraid of, I think. I had that thought. I'm going to look this up, screamer.wiki, just to put my mind at ease, I guess. PhoneJapan.com, which, let's see here. So 2008, hosted by LolShock, 2 Japanese women. Yep. Okay, it just says vomit, so we're good with that. It is unknown where the video originates from, but according to the description on Shock-chan, the 2 actresses are Mayura Hoshitsuki, also known as Mayura Hoshimura, and Akane Mochida. The description only gives the name of the music and the actresses. Most of these actresses' videos are extremely long, consisting of over 4 hours of them practicing vomit fetish. 4 hours, Brian. I'm balking at the thought of 90 minutes.
That's a lot of puke.
That's a lot of puke.
God, you gotta be.
I mean, I don't know how they physically
That's
do
a lot.
it.
That's pork rinds.
That's
keep yourself going.
Okay, because you got to. I mean,
keep the salts replenished.
Yeah, salt replenished. You got to drink a lot of liquid. I guess a lot of chicken stock backstage there. Volumes of 4 hours.
4 hours. My throat would get tired.
Yeah.
I also feel like my esophagus would be all burned up from the acid.
I was gonna say your teeth are all fucked up, and you can't make a career out of doing 4 hour videos over and over again. Ugh. But yeah, LolShock and Shock-chan both hosted PhoneJapan. Because they would all host You're So Gay. They would host a Big Bag, or in turn. Like when one would close down, like, oh, we're gonna pick up One Priest, One Nun, or whatever it is. So, fitting of the time period, though, 2008, 2007, when Zybourne Clock was being worked on. I mean, it kind of...
Puke works the same way.
Exactly right. And much like the girls in that video, we are going to need ourselves a breath mint. And that's right, it's breath mint time.
It's time for your mom's favorite part of the show. It's time for the breath mint.
Brian, what you been up to?
It's been another kind of crazy, busy week for me.
Yeah.
I don't remember when it was. It was recently. I think I had some time to kill, and I think I was just like super tired. Like I just need something to turn my brain off for a couple hours.
Yeah.
I tried watching the X-Men Dark Phoenix movie.
Oh, with Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. Okay.
Wow. Movie in some heavy quotations.
Oh, no.
It's pretty fucking bad.
Oh, no.
I think of all the things Bryan Singer has done, it's got to be some of the stuff he's done to young men, and that's probably like most of it.
Yeah.
But somewhere in between some of the heinous acts he's done,
yeah,
X-Men Dark Phoenix is in there somewhere.
Wow.
In between, like some kid giving him a Blumpkin,
right,
and on the trailer on the Paramount lot, and telling a kid what does my fingers smell like. In between that is X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Really, that bad?
It's fucking terrible.
So, okay, is Fassbender still playing Magneto?
Yeah,
okay.
But the plot is fucking bad, and I feel like...
Wait, so what you're saying is that X-Men 3 did it better?
X-Men 3.
Right, because it's basically the storyline. It's the Dark Phoenix saga, right? They're trying to do...
Yeah, I forgot that X-Men 3 was like a weird abridging of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is... I don't remember the Dark Phoenix saga because I'm not that much of an X-Men nerd.
Basics of it are that Jean Grey picks up a psychic mutant from space and it takes over her body. She becomes evil. They have to kill her to save everyone. That's the basics of it. That's been going on repeat in the comics since the 80s because they've done it a couple different times.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It is... And you think like Apocalypse is really bad.
Yeah, Apocalypse was really just looked weird.
It looked weird. I would say that Dark Phoenix at least has a couple. I think that's the only thing people like about it is there's 2 or 3 action scenes.
Yeah.
They're actually pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, because
stuff that involves Nightcrawler in particular is pretty neat. Days of Future Past is probably the only good iteration of all that.
Okay. I still haven't seen that. I've got a copy, thinking yes, I'm going to watch this because I love
fine.
X-Men.
I've never watched First Class, but I guess for sake of completionism, I'll probably watch it.
It's okay. You don't need to. It's fine.
It's pretty bad.
I like Fassbender as Magneto, and that's about it. James McAvoy's whatever, and they had January Jones in it, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah,
she's
because Days
fine.
of Future Past is one where they send Wolverine back in time, right?
Into his own mind in the past, yes.
Yes, okay. I think that one and X-Men 2 are, I think, probably like the only actual like good X-Men movies.
Okay. Did you like Logan?
I mean, Logan's cool.
But that's kind of a standalone.
That's like its own thing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's in its own category because it's like, I think that was one of the first superhero movies where people are like, oh, this is like a real movie.
I thought people said that about the first Bryan Singer X-Men. But I guess, depends on who you ask.
The first X-Men is fine. I haven't watched it in decades, but
everything holds up but the Joss Whedon line about what happens to toads when they're hit by lightning. Other than that, I think most of it's still
they
same thing that happens to everything else is like, God, that's so dumb.
You know what? That's actually probably the best Joss Whedon line.
Yeah?
It's a real 36 dicks in a row.
Yeah, I mean, it sticks out like a sore thumb, though, because like the rest of the movie is just pretty good, but that line just kind of goes, why did you do that? I feel all kinds of way about X-Men movies, because like there's never going to be a good one, I don't think, after X2. Would you recommend it to someone coming in because it hasn't seen Apocalypse, hasn't seen the Days of Future Past?
No,
Okay.
because the only thing that makes Dark Phoenix watchable is being reminded of things in the other movies that aren't bad.
Oh no!
Like, oh yeah, like this is good, or this. Oh yeah, this is a callback to something that didn't suck in a movie that wasn't as terrible.
Oh yeah, don't remind me of a better movie while I'm watching your movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an old MST3K rule, but I think it still applies. Like, don't remind me of a better movie while I'm watching this. Fallout. My goodness. Jackie from Yellow Jackets really selling it as Lucy there. I really enjoyed that first episode in a lot of ways, but man, I had this nagging feeling in the back of my head that like pacing was a little off. Pacing was a little weird. Obviously, it's Walton Goggins. I like the Ghoul. It's never not going to be interesting to see him do whatever he's doing. The Brotherhood of Steel stuff is okay. It's the same way I feel about Brotherhood of Steel in all the games. They're okay. They're there.
They kind of suck.
It is a thing that they're doing. I don't think they emphasize nearly enough the religious aspect. For people who don't know the stuff about the games, because my wife, who's watching it with me, is going, what is their deal? I'm like, oh, well, this is a whole religious thing. And she goes, oh, okay, so it's a cult. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, it's a cult. Yeah, let's do that. But I don't think that was spelled out clearly enough for people who haven't played the games. But also, throwing Maximus and the Ghoul into that first episode when Lucy is still in the vault, it's like, you've just shown us that life is going on outside the vault. You've just showed us the thing we're about to see when she leaves the vault. Because she spent her whole life thinking the world out there is just gone, and we're going to have to work to rebuild society. And then you undercut that by showing us two different people who are going to be main characters eventually, doing things in that world. Like, all right. Had I my druthers, you could probably chop Maximus and the Ghoul off of that first episode, and you'd have a pretty compelling opening for people who don't know anything about Fallout games. But as it was, okay. But man, I'm at episode 5 or 6 now. I can't remember where exactly I'm at but I'm almost at the end, and it's fan-fucking-tastic. I love it.
Pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with it. My complaints are all real nitpicky. Like, I feel like people's clothes are too new-looking.
Okay. You mean like people in the vault or people like on the outside?
Outside, like when the Ghoul drops off Lucy at the Super Duper Mart.
Yeah.
The weird, like, stoner guys also feel like a little out of place.
Yeah, because they'd be like high on jet or something instead and be tweaking.
Yeah.
If you're going by, strictly by Fallout lore.
The police to come and grab the Ghoul, like their albicos are looking really fucking fresh.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of stuff like that. The vault uniforms looking really shiny.
Yeah, Vault uniforms I'm not concerned about so much, but there's some stuff that like kind of takes me out of it, where like, oh, this kind of, it gets back to like, oh, the cinematography looks like a fucking heartburn medicine commercial. Most of it
because they're using the what is it called,
the volume,
the volume, yeah.
And I think just like really because the problem is with that sort of lighting, and it's the same problem that Cruella had, is that they're shooting it all green screen around the volume, and they're using a flat lighting that they're going to edit later because they don't know what the scenes aren't necessarily finished yet.
Okay, I didn't notice it as much in Cruella, but I do notice it in Fallout.
There's a couple shots in Cruella that Cinema Twitter really fucking took the task, really took out to the woodshed, because it's like, where's the perspective in this? Where's the lighting is flat because they didn't know, none of this was storyboarded out. They just filmed it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a fun first series. I feel it has a little bit of that Todd Howard stank of like,
yeah, it's in there,
which I fucking hate. I don't like his.
It just works.
I don't like him trying to think he knows the lore better than other people.
Well, yeah, considering Bethesda didn't create the game, that was Interplay.
I think there's also an element of the Bethesda people always being pissed that the best Fallout game was not made by them, but made by former Black Isle employees that formed Obsidian and made Fallout New Vegas. And I think like 18 months.
Yeah, that was kind of
it was pretty much all crunch.
Yeah, but they got it done, and they got some. I mean, the cast on that. I just realized, like, oh yeah, Danny Trejo is doing a voice in it, and then Chris Christopherson shows up in it. You had Wayne Newton himself, Mr. Vegas. He appears in that. You had Felicia Day, who was a virtual unknown at the time, but looking back, you're like, oh, okay, they got her in that. I mean, the sheer number of great voice actors they got. And they got good performances out of everybody. I mean, just it's pretty stunning that 18 months they turned around probably one of the best Fallout games ever made.
I mean, it's the best Fallout game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think the replayability is really impressive. The amount of cool stuff you can do with your builds. I really got into that game over a summer. I want to say like summer of 2011. I was really into fucking New Vegas and all the DLC, Old World Blues, Old World Blues is a great little piece of DLC. The other stuff has some really great lore building. It's just like a really impressive story. It also seems like it's made with a really unique kind of love for the region that it's depicting. Because you can literally go, if you go to Las Vegas, you can go basically take like a fucking New Vegas tour, look at stuff that's referenced in the game. If you want to go out and check out some of like the smaller towns in Nevada that are featured in the game. Good Springs is a real town. Prim is a real town. There's a couple other places that are referenced. We almost went, I went there with a couple friends like 7 or 8 years ago, almost did that, but we decided we'd rather go to Death Valley instead.
Oh, sure.
And Death Valley was pretty fucking tight, so I think we made the right decision.
The Dinky the Dinosaur is based on two different places in Reno. They have a lot of real world analogs. There's also the world's largest thermometer that Dinky the Dinosaur is holding. They're two separate locations. They kind of mushed them together to be Novak in the game, but Novak as a concept, like, oh yeah, why wouldn't you build a settlement out of a hotel? It's perfect. These ideas that like, oh yeah, sure, there's going to be a place to shoot rockets off in Nevada because, didn't Jet Propulsion Labs and all these places.
Send a bunch of ghouls to space.
Yeah. What a mission that was. That was fun.
Was it called Take Me to the Moon?
Fly Me to the Moon.
Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, what amazing. Just some really, really beautiful, creative stuff. A lot of really great callbacks to the first two games. Very few callbacks to Fallout 3, thank God. And
I mean, Fallout 3 largely forgettable.
Yeah, generally speaking, pretty forgettable game. Fallout 4 is also pretty forgettable for the same reason. I don't think there's the same art and craft in it. But yeah, New Vegas, if you have not played a Fallout game, can't recommend it enough.
It's on Steam for $5 this week, and that includes all the DLCs.
All the DLCs, you're going to get the gun runners, I'm sure. And
Yep. Everything.
Oh, yeah, the gun runner DLC gets you some really fun weapons. It's just, again, I feel like it's very singular in a way that a lot of other games aren't.
I've played Fallout New Vegas maybe 4 or 5 different times, full run-throughs, trying to find everything. I don't think I've got everything yet. I honestly don't think I've really hit everything that it has to offer, and that's a testament to a really interesting game to where, like, there's just a lot of shit going on, and there's so much flexibility and all that stuff. But my understanding is people got a little bent out of shape from the Fallout TV show because there's an implication that Todd Howard removed Fallout New Vegas from the timeline. This is not necessarily the case. I understand later it was kind of clarified, but boy, what a dick move that would have been, because everyone kind of got up in arms about it because they're like, and it all revolves around Shady Sands.
So Shady Sands is the capital of the NCR,
the New California Republic.
And that's like the closest thing to an old world government that America has in that timeline. I think Shady Sands is a big part of Fallout 1. I think it's also in Fallout 2.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really get too far in either one of those games, so I'm a little spotty on that. But so the thing that people are getting up in arms with was that in the storyline in the show, this takes place the furthest into the timeline, the Fallout timeline of any media, and the story is supposed to be canon, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, in 2077, there's a chalkboard and a vault that Lucy and Max end up in. That's a hospital vault / weird. It's a fun little diversion in the story. But this chalkboard is kind of obsessive about Shady Sands, and it gives this timeline, and it says 2077, the fall of Shady Sands, and then the next part of this timeline on the chalkboard is a mushroom cloud. And I think people are getting a little up in arms because New Vegas happens in 2076, I want to say, or 2078. I can't remember.
2081 is what I saw.
Okay. So it's entirely possible that while the conflict is happening at the Hoover Dam, that what's going on at the deep NCR is, it's all going to shit, but it hasn't gotten out there just yet.
Well, right, because the fall of does not necessarily mean the NCR doesn't exist, right? It just means that, like, this is when it's starting to collapse as a society.
Starting to fall apart.
Right. And so I think they fudged the numbers.
House puts it, it's a culture of consumers, basically.
Which is very apt considering who that's coming from. It's coming from a guy who's, pursuit of financial gain has led him to where he is now.
Mr. House is a autocrat, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, probably.
Who wants to rebuild society with a more direct path, because as he puts it, if you want to see what democracy has done, take a look out the window.
Right. Which, in the world of New Vegas, in the world of those games, is not good. Not great. I would say probably the word for it these days would be like neoliberalism, but the principle is the same. Like, this is what you're going to wind up with.
Yeah. And of course, across the Hoover Dam, you have Caesar's Legion, which is a slaver nation of the 47 tribes or 48 tribes?
I cannot remember the exact number, but yeah, it's 40-something tribes.
But I think if season 2 ends up going to New Vegas, I think that could be really interesting.
From what I've seen, it does appear that they're heading that direction. We do see a shot over someone's shoulder who's wearing power armor, cresting a hill, and there's New Vegas.
Hey, dudes.
Yeah. That is a deep cut, by the way. If you Deg, was that Deg?
Yes.
Yeah, DEGG, the Twitter user.
The man that gave us most of the Barnacle Gym stuff.
Oh man, fantastic! But yeah, crests a hill. Hey, dudes. And so yeah, somebody is cresting a hill, and there's New Vegas, dark, and so that image plus the plus the bit on the chalkboard. You're like, Todd Howard ruined New Vegas. It's no longer canon. It's like, well, we don't know this.
Yeah,
yet.
well, the thing is, too, also, not to spoil too much for you, I get the feeling if you already seen this shot, you probably know this, but there is a cameo of Mr. House, and I think either the final episode or second last episode of the season.
I've seen the stills of the Mr. House cameo. So, yes, I know he makes an appearance, and so I was like, okay, we've got Mr. House, we've got this shot of New Vegas. Like, clearly we're heading in this direction.
Yeah.
So, interested to see what comes next. The cast is all phenomenal. I love Matt Berry showing up as the robot. Love that. I love all the little touches in the background. You know, the kids are watching the Grognak the Barbarian TV show. Michael Emerson from Lost has a nice little bit in that where he shows up briefly as an Enclave scientist. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You got a dog who's not exactly dog meat, but it's close enough. The running joke about Vault-Tec Plan D, which is just cyanide.
Yeah.
Just there's so many little touches, and if you're fans of the game, like it's a real treat for you to kind of uncover those.
Okie dokie.
And I love Kyle MacLachlan as Overseer Hank. I love that. I kind of like the little mystery they've got going with the 3 vaults that are connected that you mentioned, but there's something weird going on in Vault 31, and like I haven't caught what that is yet, but like
it's pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice little touches, and it kind of takes what you know and plays with it a little bit. I really like that Michael Rappaport was briefly in it, and he's just a foul-mouthed asshole who gets murked almost immediately. And like, yeah, that kind of feels right.
That was Michael Rappaport?
Yeah.
He's the president's.
He's the guy in the. He's the Brotherhood of Steel guy who Maximus goes down with as a squire.
Oh, that's Michael Rappaport?
Yeah. You fucking asshole. What do you think?
I thought he didn't say anything about Zionism, so it was really hard to...
Or the Mets. Yeah, he did.
Or he wasn't like looking at some really gross-ass cat going, what the fuck is that?
Fair enough. Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while. Yeah, he does look a little different. But good times to be had there with Fallout. Love it. Not much else to talk about from my end. I did start a game, Jedi Survivor, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah. How is that?
It's more of the same.
It's just Star Wars Dark Souls?
Star Wars Dark Souls Uncharted, because there's a lot of jumping puzzles, a lot of that stuff where you have to like, oh, you're going to make friends with an animal and then use it as a thing. It's fine. It'll pass the time. It's a lot more open worldy than the last one, which is kind of to its benefit, but also to its detriment. There is a fast travel system, which was a thing that I really hated about the last one. Fallen Order had so many different places to go, and you would have to backtrack through almost an entire fucking planet every time you wanted to like go back somewhere and like find some secret nonsense. And a lot of the stuff that you're hunting for secrets wise isn't really going to do you any good anyway. It's a new piece of decorative armor for your robot. Like that doesn't. But buried in that, there are a few things like, oh, you want a new perk slot? Oh, you got to go and collect all these.
Sure, it's a little bit more productive.
A little, but honestly, not all that much. It's so searching for all the collectibles. It's fine.
Oh, cool! I've got a new shirt for my.
Yeah,
space neoliberal.
That doesn't help you at all. If it was like had armor stats or something, that'd be a different story. But yeah, it doesn't. It's purely cosmetic. The only thing I can really say that they improved upon was they added a bunch of lightsaber stances. So now you got the option to have the dual blades or 2 singles, or you have one where
cracked core or whatever. And...
Yeah, it has one that has the cross guard, the Kylo Ren style. You got one that's a blaster one, so you're doing one hand with blaster, one hand with
cool.
lightsaber. So it's some interesting ideas, and I feel like if they had, I don't know, just kind of let it cook for a little longer, maybe we'd had something a little bit more interesting. As it is, I mean, it's been out for a while, but like there's still weird graphical glitches, and this is on a PS5. There's still just some weird janky things.
Listen, if you're playing something on the PS5, I really can't abide you fucking belly aching about glitches and stuff, because you really should just be happy to be playing a game.
Fair enough. I will give you that. I'm not not going to argue about that. But what I will say is that, there's a certain amount of polish that I've kind of come to expect. And, you walk into a ship and the pilot is T-posing for a full 30 seconds in what is supposed to be a AAA game. That feels like that's, I don't know, it feels bad.
Know. Did you want some guy not to see his kids for another week so you could have your AAA gaming experience spoon-fed to you?
What I'm saying
I need my game cummies.
Listen, you and I fundamentally agree on this aspect. I want better games with worse graphics made by smaller teams of dedicated people. I would be fine with this game.
And uglier women in those games.
Sure, absolutely.
We have to defeat the male gaze.
Yes.
By making everyone look like they smoke 3 packs a day. I have a hard time going up 3 steps.
Absolutely. I don't mind if it doesn't look like $1 million as long as it performs. That's me.
Alo has to look like she has mesothelioma.
Is there a mesothelioma stare like this? Anyway. When you say something so Aloy-phobic, you have to hit him with the mesothelioma stare. Yeah. So,
oh, Jesus.
So that's about it. Brian, you want to tell them where you can find your ass on the internet?
Oh, my ass is everywhere. My ass is loud and in charge.
My ass is everywhere. Mojo Nixon. Elvis is everywhere.
Oh, yes. R.I.P. Mojo Nixon.
Yeah, rest in peace.
R.I.P. to a real one.
Mm-hmm.
Why it could have been John Spencer.
I know. He saw Jesus at McDonald's at midnight. That's all I'm saying.
John Spencer's suck implosion. Man, if you want to know what it's like to suck on a lemon until your body shuts down, go listen to John Spencer Blues Explosion.
Would the most cursed collab be John Spencer and Jack White? Because I feel like, no?
The most cursed collaboration would be John Spencer and Ice Spice. I think we just have to realize that we're getting old and that we're not with it.
Yeah.
And that it is changing and it's okay to be scared, Jason.
That's fair. That's a good point. I try to keep current, but it's not happening. So Brian, online.
Oh yeah, if you want to send me death threats or tell me that I shouldn't look that way, you can find me on most social media platforms as iShotGuydBoard, ISHOTGUYDBORD, or a music photographer, AMUS. I see.
You know how to spell a music photographer.
Christ.
Yeah,
I mean, I know you're listening to a podcast. Well, hopefully you can understand how
words
do
work.
this part. Yes, how word work. If you want to check out my photography portfolio, it's assholemusicphotographer.com. If you want to check out the photos with some words, it's musicphotographer.com. Guess what, Jason?
What's up?
I think I might actually have that Matty Diaz piece up.
Let's go!
Let's go! Let's fucking go, bro!
Woo!
The tour's been over for like a week, dog. But that shit's gonna be up.
Let's go.
It's gonna be fucking crisp. It's
go.
gonna be crass and fresh.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. A month and a half. Almost 2 months after the show, I might actually have the fucking piece up. Because fucking life can't fucking stop. And
right. Where else can they find your writing and photos?
Over at theartsstl.com, the last and only good media website in St. Louis. I just got confirmed for Slow Dive.
Woo, baby.
Their first show in St. Louis, if you can believe it.
Ever?
Yeah, I thought because I texted Bert and I was like, so when was the last time they played here? And he was like, never. And I was like thinking to myself, like, I wanted to hear like some venue that closed when I was still in grade school, like the Gasworks or something.
Yeah, or like the Galaxy or so. Yeah.
No, they never played here. But
wow.
The show at they're gonna be at the pageant on the 4th, and that's getting here really quick.
Yeah.
That is looking like it's gonna sell out. Most of the dates on this tour seem to be selling out, so good for them. The new record I really enjoy. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but it has really cool artwork and it's like weird and synthy, but like, this is still Slow Dive.
That's sick. Also
just got confirmed for Swans, which is May 10th. God, that's gonna be a weird week for me. It's like Slow Dive, Death Cab for Cutie, then Swans, and in between all of that is Portugal the Man, who I haven't seen him for a while. I really like to see them. I don't know if I can swing that, even if I just go to see it. But that's going to be fun. Death Cab for Cutie should be cool. But Swans, or Swans like the 18th. I can't remember. It's
all May.
May is fucking a crazy month for music here in St. Louis. It's kind of awesome and kind of also confusing when you're trying to keep everything together.
I'll be at Death Cab / Postal Service.
Yeah, I saw you had the verification there on your fridge when we were over the weekend. Taking my girlfriend to see William Elliott Whitmore next week off Broadway, which for her birthday, which, you know, I'm broke and we're trying to do all this crazy shit, and I just got denied a modest and very respectable raise at my job. Was basically told that I don't deserve to have like a basic comfort, and my girlfriend in particular doesn't deserve to have basic comfort after her surgery in early June. I'm still cracking up at Todd Uyong, who is now the staff photographer for the Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, on Twitter, telling people, like, you know, you go to a place like St. Louis and learn how to become like a music journalist, and having to tell him, don't tell people to come here. It's completely fucking gutted. Anyways, Jason,
yes,
where can they find you?
Oh boy, tell me all your secrets and lies.
Tell us about that time you ran a red light and killed a child in Tacoma.
Yeah, you can find me on various social medias. Videocrime, VIDEOCRIME. Any place else? Well, the only place else that I use anything else is going to be Instagram and TikTok. That's Laser Goose CEO, laser with an S. If you want to get in touch with the show, we got a ton of ways for you to do that. Shoot us an email. Jason at 48minutesofdogsbarking.com. Brian with a Y at 48minutesofdogsbarking.com. Give us a call, 314-246-9766. That's 314-AHOY POO if you like to spell with your telephone. And you can also support the show, patreon.com/48minutesofdogs. Now, I mentioned 90 minutes of puking. Yes, that's right. It is still going. If we get 10 people at the $10 level, we will record, with buckets in front of us, a commentary track on the Garo Monster Home Delivery Puke Fetish video, only patreon.com/48minutesdogs. There is also where you're going to be hearing the very special Cut for Time episodes that we call Thanks I Hate It. Our latest one just released this past Friday, and it was a good time had by all.
It's all the weird bullshit. Doesn't fit into everything else we're doing.
Exactly.
Hey, the show's fucking over. Go home.
Yeah, you can
tell your boss to kill himself, and while you're at it, find out where the president's at.
Oh God.
And why don't you kill him too?
Oh God. Namaste. Good luck. Have a good one.
Give the president a good gut fucking.